Acurx Pharmaceuticals is a late-stage biopharmaceutical company developing a new class of small molecule antibiotics for difficult-to-treat bacterial infections. It's recently released clinical data for its leading antibiotic candidate used to treat C. diff. And with me is CEO David Luci to update us on these clinical trials. They've been kind of coming fast and furious lately. So this was positive microbiology and microbiome data from the phase 2B clinical trial. So summarize what happened.
Indeed, Jane. Thanks for having us. I think it was our strongest press release yet. We had certainly a number of compliments from our institutional investor base. So what happened in a nutshell, in terms of the microbiology, which is what the R&D guys focus on from Big Pharma, we're showing that 94% of our patients treated with our ibezapolstat, our investigative antibiotic to treat C. diff patients, 94% of them by the end of day 3 of a 10-day treatment regimen had no C. difficile left. So their infections were gone. And yet with oral vancomycin, which is broad spectrum antibiotic as opposed to us, we're narrow spectrum, oral vancomycin after day 3 of a 10-day treatment regimen only cleared 71% of the patients with C. difficile. So that shows the power of our program compared to a standard of care in a billion-dollar industry. On the microbiome, what we showed is we have consistent preservation and restoration of the healthy microbiome, the good bacteria in our gut. So patients with C. diff had a logarithmic increase in the healthy bacteria to back to normal during the 10-day treatment, whereas patients on oral vancomycin, some of them had a logarithmic benefit, but most of them had a logarithmic deterioration in the healthy bacteria in the gut. Most of them. And that's because it's a broad spectrum antibiotic, and we have what we call, the science guys call a violin chart in our poster presentation that's on our website that we presented last week at a scientific conference, microbiome conference in Texas. So that shows exactly what I'm talking about. It's just another couple of pieces to the puzzle that show how we're separating, in a positive way, our ibezapolstat compared to the standard of care to treat patients with C. diff.
Yeah, and I want to talk about the significance of this because C. diff is an infection that often shows up in hospitals, nursing homes. It's been a problem. There's been no new treatment for decades. So this is really something significant.
Yes, it is significant. Pfizer and Sanofi both failed with vaccines for C. diff. Summit Therapeutics failed at phase 3. There have been a number of failures in C. diff. We're next up with the regulators. And when I say with the regulators, we have news coming regarding our FDA submission to frame out our phase 3 clinical trial mandate. But then beyond that, it's the European regulators, the UK, Japan, Canada. We're going to leverage everything that we've done successfully in the clinical trial program and manufacturing to date to get on track for approvals around the world.
Yeah, and you know, it's kind of interesting to watch your stock price as these press releases come out on the data, because it goes up, has great, and then this great press release comes out, and then is there kind of a buy the rumor, sell the fact thing going on? What do you even watch the stock price, or are you just focused on the business?
Yeah, I mean, any CEO that says they don't watch their stock price, you know, I don't believe that. We watch, of course. The last 2 times we've had great press. The same thing has happened that you're describing. You know, it's kind of unusual for us to see, but every time ibezapolstat takes us right out from underneath the downward pressure with more and more good news, and we think that's going to continue for the next 6 to 12 months.
Yeah. Now you mentioned some upcoming value inflection points. So tell me what those would be. What should we be looking out for? So
small numbers, but we have what we call extended clinical cure data coming out very soon. That data, for the first time that we know of, an antibiotic was tested 94 days out. Normally they only go out 60 days. We haven't seen another antibiotic in C. diff that's been tested that far out. So if we can show, small numbers, not stat sig, but if we can show that our patients have not only sustained cures 100% of the time, but also extended clinical cures another 64 days beyond that, you're looking at a $4.7 billion US market for recurrent C. diff. That includes the cost of hospitalizations and other antibiotics. But if you can kind of virtually eliminate recurrent C. diff with your antibiotic therapy, albeit in mild to moderate cases, you could do some serious damage at reducing the cost burden to the public health system.
Yeah, no, that's a really interesting point that I don't think we've talked about before. Somebody doesn't have to spend an extra however many days in a hospital.
That's
so
right.
That makes the whole thing operate more efficiently.
Well, even now, if I had C. diff and a doctor were to tell me you could take Acurx's ibezapolstat and have a 94% chance to fully eradicate your C. diff bacteria by day 3 of treatment, or you could take this other one, which is 71% chance. You know, which would you rather take? And ours can be cheaper. Our price point can be better.
Yeah. And side effects would,
no side effects.
Not an issue with that either. Now, so I guess phase 3 is coming up. So when will that happen? Does the company have the cash to go through that?
Well, we'll know exactly if we have enough cash after we meet the FDA. We're getting bids now from local CROs for international clinical trial work. We either have enough cash right now with our ATM in place and the cash on hand, or we might have to inch up just a wee little bit depending on how things go with the FDA, but it won't be anything dramatic, nothing close to the money that we raised on the ATM. It might just be a little nip and tuck here or there.
In terms of M&A or partnering with a bigger pharmaceutical company, would that be something that you would consider?
Absolutely. That was the game plan from the start of the company. Based on a prior experience with Big Pharma, they wanted to see proof of principle in man, phase 2 data. We've now delivered that, and we're going to continue to deliver smaller pieces with these extra endpoints that we're going to press release. So that's plan A. Plan B, on a parallel track, will be to continue to pursue phase 3. Now, some might ask, well, why do you have to do it on a parallel track? Why would you not want to save the money for phase 3 and embark upon that program if the M&A isn't successful, if you don't find a partner that the board thinks reflects the intrinsic value of the drug? And the reason is because we don't want to be caught flat-footed having to wait another year if we don't find a partner and put us back a year on the timeline.
I see.
There's more money on the back end in terms of revenue streams if we continue things going, with kind of like a better cadence.
Anything else investors should know?
The best is yet to come. Things are looking really good. We are chock full with press for the next 12 months throughout 24. And at one point in 2024, we hope to be able to put a decision to our board to say, we either have a transaction with X company, here's the letter of intent, and here's the status of our phase 3 preparedness. So our board will be able to pick out of basket A or basket B, and then management's done its job and done the best for the interest of the shareholders.
Yeah, okay. Well, I look forward to our next conversation and update. Thanks, David.
Thank you, Jay.
Thanks.
Cheers.